Bro, if I ever get like minorly offended by someone in Santa Fe, like I need you to Danny Ocean it, like a long ass plan to get back at this guy, you know?
Oh, we can feel our masculinity again. We'll eat some salmon.
Good afternoon, my name is Ali. Welcome to Jared to Jared. On this week's episode, the Jareds will discuss Ocean's 13, Warner Herzog, being a bear, the Lone Wolf, and much, much more. Let's seize the day.
Okay, cool. I don't have my mic, but I don't think it'll actually make that much of a difference.
No, that's all right. This is the impromptu travel pod right now. Jared,
Yeah.
so,
Yeah.
heck yeah, man. How's it going over there?
It's going pretty good. We were up in Lake George a few days ago. Dion's promised land. That's Dion's Jerusalem.
Oh, yeah,
Lake
absolutely.
George.
That's where they're going to crucify him on the seas of Lake George, actually. So,
Yeah, he's gonna get buried there. It's in his will.
and nice. Did you do some lake activities, hit the boat or anything like that?
Nothing like that, just like hung out. The place we are staying is it's right on the lake pretty much. So, we're like hanging out this little beachfront spot, like playing with the kids, jumping off the dock and stuff. So that was cool.
Oh, nice, nice. Man, that's like the Sandlot out there, freaking
Yeah,
doing front flips and cannonballs off the dock, freaking.
yeah, exactly. It was cool, like me and my brother AJ just like swimming out pretty far, jumping off the dock. It was fun, It was like I haven't been there in like 10 years. So it
Right,
was, yeah,
right.
just like kids again or something. So it was fun.
Yes, I love that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and then hanging out with his kids, Jake and Mary, like, man, Jake's crazy, bro. He's like 4 years old. It's like, dude's a wild man. He's just got like so much energy. It's like unreal.
right, right. Remember Leo that when I was dating
Yeah,
Camille, the dude was a madman, freaking
yeah. Well, Leo had a coke problem though. I mean, that
right.
was
Right, right, right. That was all the time. So
yeah. So yeah,
hookers and coke, that little kid, but it
yeah,
was yeah. No, they're crazy at that age, man. It's fun actually. It's fun. That's like prime Marvel character running and
yeah.
jumping and shooting webs and swimming and
Yeah. Yeah. He's so into like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and
there you go. Yeah.
like that's his main thing. He's like really into Mario and like Sonic and stuff. It's cool.
Nice, nice. Your brother's raising him right there. I like
Yeah,
that.
yeah. It is like this. Like he's pretty much living like a early '90s childhood.
Those are pretty much those are mine
Yeah,
basically.
yeah. Same, right?
Yeah, that's fun. Uh,
Yeah,
that's cool, man. Get to hang out. Man, he's already 4. What the heck? Time's going by.
yeah. Kid's 4. Like he's like 6 feet tall. It's crazy.
Seriously. I mean, how tall are your brothers? They're pretty tall, huh?
AJ's like inch shorter than me, and I'm the tallest. And then
Oh, yeah.
Devin's like 5'8", 5'9", something like that.
Okay, okay. So not that tall. Not that tall. Yeah,
No, yeah,
average size.
yeah.
Um,
Yeah, man, it was a good trip. Like caught up with my cousins too. I haven't seen like my cousins in a while.
right.
Actually, I saw them kind of recently because my aunt had died, so we were all at a funeral together last December.
Okay.
Um, but it was cool, obviously more fun environment. It wasn't a funeral, so we were just like stayed up late, like just like drinking beers by the fire and just like catching up and just like making fun of people. It's cool.
Nice. I love that. That's summertime, man.
Yeah, yeah, it was
I,
nice. Yeah.
I think it's crazy because I think what happens is I watched this documentary this week called Grizzly Man. Have you ever seen that?
No, I haven't seen that one.
You should. If anybody listening, you also should. It's on Amazon Prime. It was done by Warner Herzog.
Oh,
And
cool.
yeah, it's about this guy who like lived with grizzlies for like 13 years. And
So weird.
weird and crazy, like don't do that. He would go to the
Yeah,
beach.
don't do that.
Don't do that. And of course, he ends up, him taking girlfriend out there and ends up getting killed by a bear. Spoiler alert, I'm throwing it out there. But the story of it is wild and like how they found him inside the bear and the pilots and just all these weird people in Alaska, that he interviews. And of course, Warner is incredible too. And then the grizzly bear comes out of the and
Yeah.
comes up to him in the camera. And pretty cool, he like becomes friends with a fox, dude. A fox.
Really, the
Yeah,
box.
a wild fox. And just
Yep.
like he's this guy's friend and freaking brings her pups and everything. So bringing this all back to Lake George. I think at the heart of it, we're all pre-village even, where we just wanted to be bears. We wanted to be the bear and just jump around and hang out with our families and do cannonballs in the lake and the streams. And that's what
Seriously,
all the animals are doing out there in nature.
pretty much, yeah.
And now we've come to this convoluted industrial space. This
Yeah,
causes it. This causes a technological fucking civilization where, we're now so far away from the natural bear that, you know, we've come to now a space of kick it back to old school J to J
yeah,
of deliverance, where we're
yes.
horrified of the forest. So,
Yeah, and and it's weird, bro, because it's like the further they remove us from the forest, the more they give us the illusion of forests. It's like screensavers or something. Or I was thinking about like, okay, the Cybertruck. Have you seen one of those like driving around?
oh, they're horrible. I
I don't
hate
get it.
Yeah, yeah,
I mean, I guess I kind of get it because it's like, if I wanted to like pretend I was like in an 80s sci-fi film like starring Arnold Schwarzenegger, like I would buy that car, if that was like
totally.
my
Oh,
aesthetic.
right,
But whatever. Anyway, my dad was telling me how, it's all electric, so it's just like really, really quiet. But I guess you can actually like install something that it like creates the sound of a gas motor.
right,
If
right,
someone just like wants the familiarity of like driving around with a gas motor. And it's like it's really weird. Just like shit's getting just like more and more and more. We're going deeper into the simulacrum,
right.
deeper
And
into the simulacrum.
yeah, absolutely. And if you look up videos like YouTube reviews on these vehicles,
Yeah.
and those weird like artificial sounds and on exhaust, everybody hates them. They're just like, it's so loud, it's so annoying. Like if you want to like, I don't know why anybody would use this because it's
Yeah.
unnatural, right?
Yeah.
But
Exactly.
what made the sound going back to Derrida,
Mhm.
what made the sound so satisfying was the connection to the action, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Which was the engine. That was the literal sound of the belts and the engine and the exhaust, the fumes and the exhaust getting,
Yeah.
as you're powering the vehicle. And
Yeah.
that's what made it so satisfying. This freaking digital DJ soundtrack, Elon Musk freaking Musk, you know,
Bro, it's literally Elon just like fucking recording mouth noises like so dumb.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's really interesting because I think even like still gas powered cars, it's like my mom came out to visit, a couple months ago or whatever, and she got this rented car and it like has a button starter. Have you seen those yet?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. I can't do it, man. I think there's something, like you said, it's like there's this subject object difference, right? And then it's like the subject, us, we want a visceral tactile reaction, from the object, right? As we want to know that the world outside of us is responding to us. And that's why I like driving stick, because I still get that feeling of like, it's like I'm connected with the vehicle. It's like imagine like some like frontiersmen or like natives 1,000 years ago freaking like riding horses. It's like, and there's this like connection to the horse. It's like you feel connect. That's how I feel with my Honda Civic. It's like I feel that's my steed. It's like I feel connected to it.
exactly, exactly.
But and
And
I can't get that when I'm pressing a freaking button to start the car.
you cannot. And that's what makes Goldie so special, right? Humanized her,
Yeah,
gave her a name, had her since birth. My dad owned her. She's generational,
uh-huh.
historical, with an
Yeah,
idea and action behind the steed, right? That is Goldie. I
exactly.
don't want no freaking punch in some numbers or directions and then all of a sudden, will be at your destination soon. Honestly, there is something cool about that.
Yeah,
And, on occasion, I would choose that route, honestly, because I don't like to drive all the time, right? Especially like on road trip or something, I could be
yeah,
kind of,
fair enough. Yeah,
or commuting or whatever, you're studying.
yeah,
But if you want to drive, if you really want to be human about it and travel on that speed, there's nothing like
yeah,
classic keys and the column shifter, boom, stick shifter, even the stick shifter to get yourself even more, related to the vehicle, related to the object that you're humanizing, right? That is improving your bare life
yeah,
and, and is a sort of a toy of sorts, right, for the
yeah,
animal,
yeah, yeah.
as opposed to a convenience factor that is actually, taking away whatever the action is to that set. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like contrast that sort of I don't know, frictionless experience of the world, which is actually unsettling. It feels non-human. That frictionless experience of the world. Um, Compare that with jumping into a lake, how like embodied it is, how real it is, you know. And that's not to say you want to jump into a lake every day. Sometimes if the lake is freezing, sometimes you just don't feel like it, whatever. It's like, and it's cool to like hang out, watch a movie, whatever. But it's like I think we need like a healthy balance of like go jump in the lake.
Right,
Have
right,
that tactile connection to a car. It's the difference between like in Whole Foods where now if you want, you can literally scan your palm, which is fucking scary. You can scan your palm. You can link the unique lines on your hand, your unique to you handprint. You can link that to your fucking bank account and just scan your palm at Whole Foods. And that's terrifying to me. But think of like the frictionlessness of it, that scanning your palm versus like taking out your wallet, counting money, engaging with like actual cash money. You hear the clink of the change. It's just a much more like embodied experience. I mean, it's not that big of a deal. It's money, but like, you know, just to,
well,
just to,
back to like Grizzly Man, despite the sadness that he had, wanting to dehumanize and become a bear,
yeah,
suicide or whatever. In his defense, Herzog is like, he recorded and captured moments that you could never do with the current unions, beautiful out there because he was, in nature, he was, imagine the difference
yeah,
between a person that has a Neuralink scanning their hand at Whole Foods using Uber Eats freaking staying at home all night watching Netflix, no girlfriend, whatever, unhealthy stuff on dating apps, maybe occasionally, maybe not.
Yeah,
They're getting less and less over time. We are all the time with unhealthy foods and chills at their mom's house, compared to Grizzly Man, who probably had some wild spiritual experiences out there with bears. I mean, he lived with them for 13 years without dying. You're
yeah,
telling, I mean, through the footage of his documentary, you know, wow, like there were moments where you could tell he was like, of course, a madman, but genuinely moved, like tears of like, I can't believe how beautiful this moment is out here with these
yeah,
freaking bears.
yeah.
That compared to the eight dude in the door one, it's just a huge difference. They're two completely different animals.
Yeah, and like who knows, man? Maybe the bear is eating him. Maybe that was like, we look at that and it's like scary and shitty and it's like, oh, you idiot. Like, of course the bears are gonna eat you. But hey man, it was 13 years they knew him. I wonder what the circumstances were, because sometimes there's like droughts and like not as many berries are growing and the bears start to starve. So maybe, they're just desperate. Or who knows, man? Maybe it was like an unspoken spiritual thing where it was like he was being consumed and like subsumed by the collective, that maybe it was like a thing of like deep honor and respect. I mean, there are like human cultures throughout history who would like human sacrifice was like a deep serious honor. They would treat this person like a god for like several months and then sacrifice them, and it was considered a great honor. So who knows? I don't know. It's like maybe that man's death by grizzly was a very honorable death. Who knows?
Right, right. Well, he talks about it too, of
Yeah.
saying, I'll live for these bears, I'll die for these bears, I love these bears, freaking.
Yeah.
I am a bear. And he thought of it as a very spiritual thing to protect them, to live with them, and if worst came to worst, die by them. He's like, I would never want a bear to die. That's why I never carry a weapon.
Die by
Even
the
if it's in defense of my own life,
yeah.
right? And then you talk about the circumstances. Herzog does digress on while he was in the grizzly run, bears from inland came in. It was almost hibernation. They're starving, like
Yeah.
hungry. He didn't know them, they didn't know him. And, one thing led to another. Or, I was thinking sort of along your lines, because there's an unverified audio because the camera was still on, but the cap was on when the attack happened.
Wow.
There's an unverified audio on YouTube with millions of people listen. It's horrifying. That being said,
Did you listen to it?
I did. Yeah.
Oh
I was
God.
so into the story, I was like, I have to hear it. It's
Is it
just,
him just like screaming like
oh my God, it's wild. Ah, I'll kill you. Ah! And his girlfriend is hitting the bear with the frying pan. The bear had lacerations from frying pan on its top of its head,
oh
but
fuck. Did she get
yeah,
eaten?
she got ate too.
Yeah.
But she's yelling at him, fight back, fight back. Of course, he's screaming, he can't, more than likely, because the bear's freaking eating him. That being said, maybe he really didn't want to. I think she was going to break up with him again. Like there was sort of that dialogue behind in the documentary. He was depressed. He didn't want to be single again, incel sort of dude, and might have been like closeted gay dude. Maybe he was ready to go to the Bears.
Maybe it's like fuck it. It's time.
Fuck it. The
Yeah.
sad thing is, like one of the pilots said that his girlfriend died, too, with him. But hey, And
Yeah.
then one of the other sad things is they found the bear and they killed the bear and they found him and the girlfriend and a bunch of clothes, 4 bags of them in the bear's stomach. Can you believe that?
Whew.
And wow. But they interviewed like a native guy too, and he was saying that, hey, this dude was disrespecting an ancient pact that we made with the bears, where they would remain in their world and we would remain in our world.
Yeah. It's
And
George Costanza and the pigeons.
right, right. And then and then he's convincing the bears that we're safe, which we're not either.
Yeah.
Look, a bear died, And anyways, getting a little off track here with the Herzog, but there's a lot of layers to that. To you know,
Yeah, and ultimately, who knows? I mean, like, the that movie Into the Wild? You ever seen
right,
that one?
right, right,
Yeah, Emil Hirsch plays the guy, Alexander Supertramp. That wasn't the kid's real name, it was his chosen name, he was pretty much a Taos dude, just like
right.
um
It's funny, Herzog actually mentions that in the documentary.
oh, interesting, yeah.
Leaving society,
Yeah,
just you know,
exactly. Yeah, because this kid, the movie is very, very romantic, it totally romanticizes. It's like this like cross-country journey through the beautiful American majestic landscape, all the way up to Alaska. And there's a lot to be said for that. I mean, the kid ta did take this like kind of leap of faith to go explore and all this stuff. Um, However, one, I read a little bit about it. The kid had like fucked up family history. It's like the father like had like a fucking secret family or something, like, was cheating on the wife and whatever, got this other chick pregnant, was living a double life essentially, not telling anyone. And then the parents were fighting, got divorced, and then like the father revealed that shit. So this kid, Alexander Supertramp, like, of course, like fucking, there's some stuff there. So one, it wasn't just like this like hyper romantic thing. He was like running away from some intense family shit, right? And then makes his way up to Alaska. And then in the movie, it's like this like beautiful thing. It's sad that he dies, but it's even presented as this kind of like back to nature, a good death kind of thing. But apparently people in Alaska, like to this day, talk about it because all these people trying to emulate the movie go out to freaking Alaska and die like every winter. And then it's like the local towns need to like use all their resources to freaking send out helicopters and find this just these like repeatedly dumb people who just like zero preparation go off into the Alaskan wilderness trying to emulate this guy's story. And it's like, no, don't do that. But then, of course, like the locals, natives, all these people are just like, bro, this is Alaska. Like, you don't know what you're getting yourself into. You have
right,
no idea what's out there.
yeah,
Like, it's not romantic. It's dumb. Like,
right,
why are you doing this? It's a suicide mission.
yeah. Just like I got my Converse and my JanSport and my hoodie. I'm
Yeah,
heading
yeah,
into the wild.
yeah. Into the wild, bro. Yeah,
Freezing out there, poisoning or getting killed by some wild animal.
yeah, yeah.
Um, that being said, yes, it's a mental illness, right? Severe depression. Um, However, I think that spans from, if we're looking at it from an anthropological psychology perspective, from our wanting to return to the bear
Yeah,
and wanting to go back to the jungle and wanting to be back with the animals and back to our what's the word, primorality or yeah,
primordial.
so and I think this is especially dominant within men in contemporary society
Mm,
because of the loss of the masculine self.
yeah, yeah,
And one place where it was manifested and harvested and seen as a healthy thing and used as in a healthy manner, right?
yeah.
Um, was in the jungle, back in the forest, back when we were bears. That
Totally,
was
bro. And like, oh man,
anymore, The last man are, Paul and John and AJ.
Bro, let's get the boys just like
For
go out.
real. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's real. I mean, like the over domesticated man in modern society, that's a real thing, just like just whatever. That's a real thing, It's like we've talked about this before, but it's like, having a man's body, it's like important to like exercise that body to
Right.
its limits sometimes, go on like a really intense run or swim or workout, whatever. Go spend some time in the woods, I think it's humbling. I think that's like important and humbling for men, And then I watched last night, a buddy and me, we watched Ocean's 13. Have you ever seen the
Oh,
Ocean's movie?
love it.
Dude, they're so funny.
Masculinity right there, Brad Pitt and
Look at Danny Oceans. Oh man, it's so awesome. They're like they're really wholesome movies. Like we were talking about how like there's actually no sex object in these movies. Not really, It's like it's literally like just this group of boys, like the crew on this mission to like screw over some like, casino owning douchebag or something, it's so like, oh man, it's such like a
Capital,
deep,
right?
yes, it's so
It's
good.
Robin Hood. It's it's back to the village right there. It's back to the bear, you know.
Yeah. And then you have the scene at the end of Ocean's 13 where and Ocean's 13, the whole premise of the movie is that they want to like help their friend get revenge on the casino guy who took advantage of him. So
Right.
they go through this like insane mission, this like literally like 2 year long mission. One dude's freaking in like Mexico going undercover as a Mexican dude. All he does is put on a fake mustache and now he's Mexican and he's like working in this factory in order to like mess with like the dice that then get made there, manufactured, then shipped to the casino. It's like crazy, It's like it's this international fucking espionage thing just in order to like help their friend who was taken advantage of in a pretty like minor way by this casino owner.
All right, right.
It's like the boys coming together.
Good
And
for it.
then the final scene, they win, of course, and they're watching fireworks in Las Vegas.
Yeah,
And
right.
it's like, oh, Danny Ocean's Rusty, played by Brad Pitt, and their fucking 11 best friends just like hanging out together, watching fireworks.
That's literally my dream, I think.
Yeah, it's not Danny Ocean and like his girlfriend. It's not like, Rusty and this like chick they just started seeing. It's not a rom-com, It's like it's such a boys movie. It's just the 13 best friends who are watching fireworks together, and it's like, fuck yeah, I want to be part of that.
Yeah, yeah. We lost the we need to meet or become Danny Ocean. I think that's one good philosophy is the philosophy of Danny Ocean.
Yeah, yeah,
You know, he's a charismatic but confident, assertive, but also smart leader
yes,
that would never put himself nor his team
yeah,
an
yeah.
unnecessary risk. So he uses his smarts to assert a 2 year fucking plan, right? Just because he loves his homie so much, you
Yeah,
know.
he just loves his homie so much.
Find your Danny Ocean inside,
Yeah,
and I think maybe that'll solve masculine depression in
yeah,
2020.
bro. If I ever get like minorly offended by someone in Santa Fe, like I need you to like, Danny Ocean it like a long ass plan to get back at this guy.
Be a 2 to 4 year plan
Two
before.
to 4 year plan.
Or like
They're like working on blueprints like all night.
Dion's gonna start studying Buddhism so he can get him.
It's so weird. It's so weird.
Oh man, so crazy. But I mean, I miss a little off track, but I miss movies that were, hey, this is about a heist,
Yeah,
and friendship and anti-capitalism, Robin Hood,
yeah, yeah,
and it's
uh,
also a movie like a summer blockbuster for America,
yeah,
for American families,
yeah,
So everybody can go see it in ages from 5 to, your dad who drank too many Budweisers, is napping halfway through the movie. He's
yeah,
57, can enjoy it and be like, oh man, Brad Pitt, they really, gee, I can't believe they pulled that off. Ah, shit.
yeah, exactly,
That Danny
exactly.
Ocean's smart, man.
That Danny
Yeah.
Ocean's smart.
And the women they love him, And it's like, hey, you're an incel, like maybe you should plan a heist. I don't know.
Yeah,
Find 11 home friends though. Get around some masculine energy, test your leadership skills out, see how you function within a group, which is good because I think too many people, whether it's whatever gender you are, spend too much time alone
yeah,
and you think you're still normal and you're not. It's like, oh man, you've been isolating for too long.
yeah,
Like the conversations you want to have are kind of weird. Like I've thought about it too after like stints of isolation, looking back, just like, oh man, maybe should have. I don't know. Like when you get your footing better later, you realize, oh, cool, there's a way to be a penguin and be around the pack and be a bear and be around the bears and like
yeah, yeah.
by the bear code and like get the cool hot bear that's across the lake, might have to get into a scrap, but hey, you have a purpose and you're
Yes,
happy out there. So,
dude, exactly. Yeah, that sense of purpose, all that, it's like, oh man, yeah. Like on this coming Sunday, I'm gonna go to the beach with a couple of friends and like I'm psyched just to like hang out and like men's group, just hang out with a few other guys, probably bring like a baseball or something, throw around. I don't know, go jump in the water, polar bear plunge, kind of cold in the South Shore. It's like pretty chilly, the Atlantic Ocean, but like, just yeah, just a collective social time is so important.
yeah, it's so important for everyone, for everyone.
Yeah,
Especially, if we want to look at it back in a gender perspective, but for men especially, like you can't just be by yourself. You'll either go angry, you'll be depressed, sad. You gotta like go out and be a man of the village, man of the town.
yeah,
George Stanza, right?
yeah, exactly. George Costanza. Yeah. Yeah, and I watched this dude, I've mentioned him before, this guy who does all like kind of men's mental health stuff online, whatever. And one of the things this dude has said is that like, when you're talking about like attracting women or whatever, not in this like um pickup artist kind of way or something like that, but you're trying to attract like a mate or something like that.
Right,
He's like we do live in a material world, it's like, and you gotta acknowledge that it's like, we have this fantasy of just like someone's gonna love me purely for me, and at some level that's true, that's like a positive thing for sure and realistic. However, he goes, we live in an embodied reality, it's like money's real, jobs are real, physical health is real, all this kind of stuff, so essentially the dude was like, what do you have to offer, back in like the 1800s or something, you'd have like a dowry. I could be getting that mixed up. Maybe it's the woman who had the dowry. But anyway, you'd have to have something to offer, You'd have to be like, you're going to like ask the parents for like their daughter's hand in marriage, and they're gonna be like, well, what do you got?
right,
What do you have to offer? And the same thing's true today. And this guy breaks it down where he's like financial status. That doesn't mean you have to be rich or something like that. It just means that you have your shit together. Um, Two, social status, that you're part of a community, that you're giving to a larger community, whether that's like family, group of friends, whatever, you know. But
Yeah.
that like sticks out to me is that like social status. So it's like it's almost like the best way to like attract a mate is to like hang out with your all of your 13 best friends, Danny Ocean style, hanging out with them, watching fireworks, pulling off a heist. Like that's gonna attract someone way more than like just like
Right,
looking
right.
for hanging out with women, looking for women, whatever. But actually hanging out with your boys, your crew is going to actually your testosterone levels increase then when you're hanging out with groups of men, you know?
And the lone wolf is exactly that, alone, right?
Yeah.
Or else he'd be the pack wolf. He's not. He's the lone wolf. Why is he alone? Dude's a weirdo. He's out there eating people in the wood, licking around.
Yes.
You know, and never just socializes with any of the wolves. Doesn't like little puppies. In fact, it might have assaulted one or something like that. You know, he's a lone wolf. He's freaking nobody. Why is that? Category so celebrated nowadays.
Dude, I was actually just going to ask you that exact question. Why? Why do you think, you know, the lone wolf, it's been romanticized, it's been like there's a mystique to it. Like what is that? Why is the lone wolf so prevalent and celebrated? 20th century particularly, I think, you know.
Could it be that we've been driven to this madness through toxic technology, means of wealth disparity, lack of communication, social media, where we then you get crammed into a hole, right? Back
Yeah.
to Plato's cave. You get pushed into that freaking cave.
Yeah.
Get pushed enough into that cave, it's going to be completely dark and you're not going to know how to get out. Then everybody's a lone wolf. Then you look for relatability in story.
Hmm.
And you're not going to relate to the family of bears, right? You're going to relate to the big bad wolf who's
Yeah.
alone in the woods, you know, because all of a sudden that's who you are and that's who you became.
Yeah. And then that reinforces the lone wolf narrative, the lone wolf aesthetic, whatever, right? Because if, like you're saying, okay, I'm a lone wolf because of social circumstances, economic circumstances, even like the structure, the way we structure our cities and the suburbs, you know, it's like we don't have like town squares where everyone's conducting business, right? Whatever. So because of all these circumstances, I've been pushed into lone wolf status. That's what you're saying. And then looking for some sort of like relief or just a sense of like being understood, I read stories, watch movies, whatever it is, where I can identify with the character, right? And the
Right.
character is this lone wolf figure. And
Yes.
now I'm reinforcing that identity of look at me, I'm a lone wolf. I'm just
Right.
freaking Alexander Supertramp into the wild. I'm just like, I don't know, all these guys, whatever. And
Right.
there's so many of them lone wolf figures. So yeah, yeah, that's really interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And then and then we evolve, a bunch of us have turned into these sort of like Aleister Crowley-esque, even Lone Wolf figures where you can get online and be the weirdest, creepiest, or look up the weirdest things. You can become part of strange discords and communities. And,
Yeah.
you know, I think society is relating to the idea, of relating to the known wolf. Well, you get what, but there comes a point when the story that you relate to then becomes mastered, right? Okay, let's switch on over to Baudrillard. The
Mm,
simulacra, right? When you previously are nurtured to become the lone wolf,
yeah.
then there comes a turning point where you realize how creepy and weird and detrimental that is.
Yeah.
You're in a cell, you're
This is
alone, you don't have any friends, you haven't had sex in 2 years, right? You know, then you want to change, but there's nothing left of you anymore. The only thing that is left is the simulation, which is the lone wolf.
Yeah.
And then you unhealthily constantly identify with that for the rest of your life. You know, fuck that. I say freaking we slash that category and that sort of mindset. We return to the pack. Let's be grizzly bears. How
Agreed.
healthy is it to be a grizzly bear, to be at Lake George, to do all this stuff? You know, sure. I mean, I finished writing chapter 3 of Jare today. Super proud of it. And
Oh, hell yeah. Nice.
and you've done some good work with meditating and stuff, but there's a limit, right? If that's all I did, you'd be like, dude, come on. If that's all you did, it's like, no, you got to get out there and be a grizzly bear. Bears don't just write in the woods all the time, you know. We get out there. We weird, strange journalists that want to hang out. We jump in the lake. We eat salmon. Salmon run. So just hibernate forever, or else there'd be no bears. Right?
Exactly. Yeah, that's exactly it. And like, yeah, my mind's going a couple different places. But one of them is in East of Eden by John Steinbeck, which I finished a couple months ago. He has this part. What I really like about that book is like he's so reflective. He's constantly reflecting on the times because it's an intergenerational story. Like it starts in I forgot like 1870 or something like that, right? And then goes all the way until 19 about 1930, I think it was, right? And then he's writing this in 1950, so he'll even have insertions where he's reflecting on like the midway point of the 20th century and where he thinks things are going to go from there. So it's really sort of this like analysis of society and culture from like 1870 to like 1950 and beyond, right? And one of the things he says he sees, and this is 1950, he sees that society is asking people to get more and more and more specialized in a singular thing in order to succeed in the economic system, right? He's not saying whether that's good or bad. It's just an observation. And he's saying in the past, 1870, you would have these really well-rounded, he's talking about men in particular, but really well-rounded men who are good with like tools and mechanics and like fixing some things. They also have like a vast knowledge of weather patterns because they're all farmers and stuff like that. They have a really good knowledge of like when to plant things, the soil quality, all that sort of stuff. They're like fixing everything on their property. Then they're going hunting, it's like whatever. There's just like a range of skill sets that you would need in order to survive. He goes as there's been technological advancement that's going to do more of these things for us. Now we can specialize in like a very particular area, You become the guy who's the mechanic and knows everything about cars, but then you can't do anything else. But because of our economic system, that's okay because now you're going to make money as mechanic and then you're going to hire someone else to raise your food for you, whatever it is. And he's essentially saying like that trend is happening more and more and more and more where you're seeing these people become hyper specified in a particular thing, but then they have zero skills anywhere else.
Right.
And I think that's true. Now we have these people who are like know everything about like I don't know how to use this like particular program on a computer. They build a career out of it, all that stuff. But then if like anything happens in their lives that they're not prepared for, they completely break down or something like that.
Right. Right.
That's sort of the idea. Um, I don't know. Do you think that's there? You think that's true? That just like the hyper specificity of career and stuff.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, this could even be reflected in our, the history of our economy. I'm thinking about the dot-com bubble.
Yeah,
Everybody was so specified on websites and dot-com this and dot-com that, and this was the future of this. And then when the dot-com kind of sort of died out, it's more about apps and stuff like that now, right? so many people just ended up working at like Sam's Club or something. That's literally what that Dane Cook movie is about.
Oh, interesting.
Supermarket or what's it called? Superstore. Anyways,
Yeah.
employee of the month, I think is what it is.
Right.
Such a good movie, by the way, filmed here at the Santa Fe Sam's Club. Santa Fe. But that's what it was. He tried out a .com, boom, the bubble burst, it fell. He like owed his grandma money, went to Sam's Club, he was super sad, but then found Jim Bob, loved that movie. And, Jessica Simpson and found love and his life was great, working over there at Jim Bob's Sam's Club. So
Yeah.
Jim Bob's Club. So
Yeah.
but I think that Steinbeck's right yet again.
Yeah.
Where we get sent, and then let's look at it even on a micro scale, right? We
Yeah.
get hyper specifically good at, okay, I can really conversate on Tinder. I get mad matches and all. There's a
Yeah.
real, you go on a date, person's like, you don't know what to say. You're just like, just like sweating, no eye contact,
Yeah. You're
because
really good at sending memes, but that's kind of it. Yeah.
exactly that's it. You have like a really good meme algorithm. But
Yeah.
other than that, it comes to whatever it is, it dies, or even like relationships nowadays.
Yeah.
A lot of people are like, we like have sex. Well, that's great. But anything else comes up, if we can hate each other, or there's
Yeah.
fight, bail, or.
Yeah. And that's the thing, because it's like if I feel like being in college, like studying English, it was like celebrating all these writers, of course, right? You know, that's a good thing. I love all these literary traditions. Um, However, you're looking at these men and women who spent their lives doing a very singular task for like honestly 10 hours a day. You know, it's like you look at these hyper successful writers, people who wrote the classics and everything. For the most part, I mean, these guys they really were waking up writing until they would go to sleep. You know, it's like that's what you have to do to reach that level. You know what I mean? Like Joyce would write fucking 12 hours a day and stuff.
Yeah,
And like, and I'm sure that came in waves, you know, I'm sure it was like, 12 hours a day to get the book done and then he'd chill for a while or whatever. But either way, it's like that was kind of the ideal that was presented, this just like hyper productive, immensely creative individual. And it's like, that doesn't work for most of us, it's like that's an ideal that I don't think we should strive toward. It's like, okay, could you sit there writing dreams of Durga 12 hours a day? Sure. I mean, at some point, the work itself is probably going to suffer, but like, could
right.
you and get like incredibly, incredibly, incredibly good, whatever, make this your life's work? Sure, why not? But are you going to be happy doing it, or are other areas of your life going to suffer,
Yeah, yeah.
Probably, right?
For sure. I was thinking about that too. Just like, okay, say you get a book deal, Dreams of Jericho or something. And then it's like, cool, well, I gotta write like 4 Game of Thrones length level novels in the next couple years, but they gave me a few hundred grand. I don't have a job. That's all I'm gonna do. Wow. Am I gonna be a Joyce about it? And literally that's all I do. Then I stop being a good dad. Hagrid's hungry. I
Yeah.
can't Dalton, I'm doing Adderall like and Coke like Stephen King or something, staying up all night trying to finish these novels. When, damn it. A million dollars Breakfast Club freaking out and that's not the type of life I want to live. And that's the work suffers to me.
Yeah.
Unless you're a madman like Joyce
Yeah.
and enjoy that type of work.
Yeah.
It's very much a tone. It's very much an approach and an angle. Uh,
Definitely.
Finnegan's Wake is maddening. It's not for everybody, right? And I think if I wanted to write but that's what Joyce liked, if I wanted to write a novel that I liked, 12 hours a day writing would ruin it.
Yeah. right.
Yoga for me is a life project. I want it to be like Lord of the Rings, where it's Middle Earth. It's gonna take me a while to just garden all this stuff out. I've been working on it for 37 years since I was born. So,
Yeah, 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 exactly. And like, gotta go back to the grizzly bears, gotta go home,
and
man.
that's what it is. It's just getting back to being a grizzly man, freaking eating salmon, rolling around in Lake George and swimming, and hanging out with the man cubs and the cubs and
All right, here's a question for you. Okay, in this conversation, animal imagery is really prevalent, right? We're talking about the grizzly family, Are you a lone wolf? Sitting there eating some salmon. Yesterday I was on a walk and just saw a deer, this lady deer, just like in the road, and
right.
then watching her and she ran off into the woods. So then I walked up and peered through the woods and I saw a little baby deer and then the man deer with freaking big ass antlers,
Yeah, yeah.
pretty cool, and just like I don't know, I've really been on the animal, I don't know, animal frequency or something like that. And I'm reading this book right now. It's called, I have it right here. It's called Anam Cara, which means soul friend in Gaelic. It's a book of Celtic wisdom by this guy, John O'Donohue, came out in 1997. John O'Donohue, I guess he was a Irish Catholic priest, but also into like, early mysticism, Celtic mysticism, stuff like that. Um, but anyway, the Celtic shamans would do a lot of animal transfiguration. They would go into trance states and, according to them, literally become these animals, right? And it's like actually this kind of informs some Game of Thrones stuff. The Raven, the three-eyed Raven, that was from Celtic mythology. Like if you wanted
Right.
to get some kind of knowledge, you would go into this trance, and they were using mushrooms too. I'm sure
Yeah,
they were also doing it, meditation, whatever.
yeah,
But they'd go into a trance, enter the mind of a raven and just like check in with the ravens and be like, what have you seen, because they get the bird's eye view of it all, right? What have you seen? What storms are coming in? All this kind of stuff. So they would transform into different animals for different purposes, and for them it was literal. It wasn't like a symbolic thing. This was a literal thing. So well, I don't know, just what's that spark for you?
it sparks a old reference on the pod, Ethan Hawke, baby. Remember
Ethan the Hawk.
Ethan the Hawk? Did you ever watch The Norseman?
Oh, is that the one that came out kind of recently?
No, it's been out for a little while.
Like a couple of years ago, I mean recently,
Yeah,
like
it's
like
like
a few years ago.
Skarsgård and old Ethan Hawke,
Ethan
and
Hawke was in it.
yeah, he's
Is it
like,
the one
and
fuck, it's like this Viking dude and I don't know. Well, hold on, let me just look it up because it might be the one I'm thinking of.
I'm somewhat of a scientist myself. What's his name? William Defoe is in
Look
it.
this up.
They
The
do
Nor
like,
the Norseman.
yeah, they do a bunch of drugs and a bunch of like mushrooms and shit and do this crazy
Hold
freaking
on, I think we're getting things mixed up here. Is it the Norseman or the Northman?
the Northman, the
You're
North,
talking about the Northman.
yeah, the Northman. My bad.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yes, yes, I know what you're talking about. But there's also a movie called The Norseman, which came out in 1978 about a Viking. Sounds kind of cool.
that's
And this Viking comes in contact with the American Indians. Anyway, that would be a cool one to put on the docket. So that's the Norseman, but Northman, that was 2022.
that
Yeah.
might be a rare Jared to Jared find. We're gonna have to watch The Norseman.
Yeah, it sounds pretty cool actually.
Uh,
Anyway, so the Northman, yeah, yeah.
the Northmen, yeah, embodying themselves into the eagle, and
Yeah.
Which I think is why psychedelics have made such a huge rise in contemporary society.
Yeah,
Everything from legalization to conferences to this global acceptance
because
of mind,
everyone wants to transform into animals.
because we need it. And we have the highest rate of PTSD, depression,
Yeah,
in history. And they're saying, oh, well, LSD and all these things, they're taking away depression, soldiers' depression, everybody, incel depression, all this. You know why? Because it's returning us to the grizzly. We're
returning to
being animals, where we can feel our masculinity again. Ah, gonna
yeah,
go eat some salmon, roll
yeah,
around, dress up, thinking,
yes.
yes, hang out with Grid and freaking, you know.
Yeah, it's return to the earth, return back to nature, right?
Right, right.
That's a badass scene in the Northman because it shows, and this is historically true, shows them preparing for a battle, and the Vikings would freaking eat a bunch of mushrooms the night before a battle and just fucking stand around a fire, just roaring, screaming. I don't know a word to say, like imagining, but it's more than imagining because it was in a
Becoming,
felt sense was true,
yeah,
transforming into beasts and monsters in the forest, like literally asking fucking Pele energy to come down into them, right?
right.
Just losing their minds all night, just like fucking crazy. And then the next day going to battle,
Right.
and it's
And
wow.
instead of it being seen as a dehumanization, a lot of people in that documentary were like, "Oh, you want to be human, this and that, or you want to be grizzly."
Yeah,
It's not about dehumanization. What it is channeling into our inner animal, forgetting that we are also children of the woods, of the forest. We're
yeah,
birds of dirt and mud and water,
exactly.
fire and blood, and we return to that primal space
Yeah,
where we return to the grizzly. We're not worried about freaking how many likes we have or how sick our vehicle is or what's this and what's that. We're worried about doing cannonballs in the freaking Lake George with some family and our cubs, and what it is becoming human, like and subscribe.
yeah, it is, and that's the thing, because I guess you could say it's like transhumanism in the sense that you're transcending the human, but I would say it's transcending the limited sense of the human, you
Right,
know, because if you think of human as something separate from nature, as something limited, as something separate from animals, then yeah, then you're transcending the human. But if you think of the human as something that's already interconnected with all of these things, that we actually never left the grizzly. We just think we did, you
right,
know? So it's like you're going back into your natural setting, you're going back into factory settings, and your factory settings are ones of deep interconnection with the trees, with the bears, with
right.
freaking family, so it's like
It's a very society, man. They realize they're Paddington, They're wearing a top hat with a little jacket and they're, oh, sir, I'm so nice, sir. We all
exactly.
have a little British accent, and then we think we're humans. We think we're something other than animal, but we forget that take that little top hat off the coat. We're Baloo. Throw on the jazz music and get me back out into the jungle. About my money,
Yeah.
zinging up Monday. Hapu dabba doo day, but day, but about my money.
Wow. That was
I'm heading back to the jungle. That's
yeah, see, and there's something about the anthropomorphic animal, right? Blue the bear. And then there's something about the animal morphic human. Like there's something about that like crossroads there, that threshold. You know, in Animorphs, that was a show in the 90s where like it was just about these kids who would transform
Yeah,
into
I do remember that.
animals. Fucking and the nine dude, cyberpunk 90s, you get Animorphs in Batman Beyond, which was, did you watch that as a kid?
Oh, of course. Yeah.
Yeah, Batman Beyond, where it was like, you know, Batman's protege or whatever, and he's this like cyberpunk rave kid who like becomes Batman. So cool. And he's freaking like the intro to that show, you know, the intro song and the music and stuff and like the video. It's literally these cartoon characters at a rave. It's fucking Batman Beyond.
Uh,
Terry McGinnis or whatever his name is fucking raving, dude. He's on ecstasy.
right.
And then
Zion.
yeah, Zion, and then he's also Batman Beyond, you know, and it's like in one of the episodes in that the villains were these guys who were like shooting up like animal genes and like transforming into animals, right? You get Genesis Peorage, one of my favorites from the 90s, who was like planning, but then their life partner, artistic creative partner died. But before she died, they were planning on fucking because they're getting all sorts of like plastic surgery as like an art project essentially is insane. They were actually planning on like splicing freaking deer antlers and stuff into their skulls and tails and just like crazy stuff, you know? So that
Right.
seems to be part of it, just like in the 90s. Oh shit. Oh, did I lose you?
No, I still got you.
Oh, oh, something happened on my computer. Okay, I'm back. But anyway, it's like, oh yeah, and then one more reference too. Terrence McKenna wrote this book called The Archaic Revival, which I think was like the late 80s or something like that. And he was pointing to rave culture, people wanting to become animals, people getting tattoos and like gauges in their ears and like all that sort of stuff. Techno music, rave music, which was all like drum and bass heavy and inspired by like, you know, African drum beats and stuff like that. Terrence
Right.
McKenna was like, look, everyone's doing it's the 90s, everyone's like picking back up on psychedelics and it's the archaic revival. We're going back to the factory setting. We're back on drums. We're back on bass. We're back on animal transfiguration. We're back on tattooing ourselves, just like, you know, indigenous cultures. He's like archaic revival. Yeah.
Uh, Dude, I love it so much. I'm ready now. I don't know about you, but I'm I think Jared, we've already been there. We've been there, dude. It's 2 seasons, we're at 32 episodes.
Look at this. Crazy.
On behalf of the Jareds, thank you for listening. Follow and subscribe to the show. The Jareds will be back next week, and always remember, why give up now, when the finish line is just around the corner? Until next time.